Hello fellow survivors, and welcome to a special episode celebrating the 30,000 subscribers that this channel got today, whichever today it is. But today is special, the channel has grown, and I thought we'd do something special in return as well. And what we're going to do is, I'm Zach by the way, we're going to look at some old videos and react to them to see how they hold up based on how the game is now. Now, before we get into it, I just have to say thank you so much to all of you who are watching. This channel has grown way more than I thought it would, and it's much bigger than I ever envisioned it when I started making videos, and that's all thanks to you, and I appreciate that so much. So thank you very much for everything you've done, and this channel will be nothing without you, so thank you so much. And today we're going to do something different. We're going to look at the old tip videos that got this channel started and look at them to see if they actually hold weight, if they actually are the same, or rather if they are accurate today compared to back then, or maybe if they even were accurate back then. So let's have a look at that. Now, a couple of things I'll just point out before we get into it. The reactions are recorded over several different occasions, so don't be surprised if suddenly my outfit changes clothes or something like that. That's going to happen a few times. And the other thing is that the video ended up being way longer than I thought, so I ended up cutting it, so you are only going to see the highlights, the best parts, or the most interesting parts that I thought at least were worth sharing, and the rest will be cut. However, if you are a Patreon of the channel, which is only $2 a month, you can get access to the complete uncut reaction, which is about 2.5 hours long, where you can see everything else. But I left the best part in for all of you to see. So with that said, again, thank you. The channel has grown really big. 30,000 is unbelievable. And yeah, let's hop in and watch some old videos. There are 5 of these videos in total, but we're only going to look at 3 of them because it took much longer than I thought. But if you really like this kind of video, you can let me know, and I might watch the other ones too and react to them as well, or maybe react to other things. See how you get on. This is the kind of content I don't usually make, but I thought we'd do something different for a change. Now with that said, let's hop in and watch the first video. Okay, so we're going to start with the first one that I made that's now almost 3 years old, and at the time that I made this, I think I had a little bit over 1,000 subscribers. I'm not sure exactly. It's quite a while ago. I think it was maybe before I was monetized, but the reason I started making these was because I felt there was kind of like a for lack of a better word, like a gap in the market, so to speak. I was quite into the long dark, and I was looking around for tutorials and tips, and there were quite a few sort of guides to beginner guides and that sort of thing, but they tended to be people who just had a 20-30 minute session where they jumped into the game and then they just talk about it, and there wasn't any kind of like editing, there weren't any kind of like lists or quick tips. I couldn't find anything like that, so I thought, well, I'll make it then. So that's why I started making these. And this is the first one. And let's see how it holds up now, almost 3 years earlier. I have not watched these videos in a long time, except for some brief excerpts I used in other videos. I haven't actually watched these tip videos in at least a year or so, maybe even longer. So I can't remember exactly what I say in all of them, but we'll figure it out. So let's get to it, shall we? There's a time-lapse shot that I ended up using in the time-lapse video. That took a long time to get. Keep doing that. All caves in the long dark count as being outdoors, but they also have a indoor zone. This is about halfway through the cave. Here, on the inner section of the cave, you stay warm and can even cure hides or saplings. So this is correct, although I wish I had called it the interior and exterior instead. It makes a lot more sense because the whole cave is outdoors. That's why you can cure cabin fever, but the inside is the interior, where you're not warm per se, but you are warmer. But you can still die from freezing, but you're just warmer. But the outside or exterior is colder. All right, yeah, that's still valid.
Campfires last longer if they are outdoors.
Yes.
This means that it's always best to do cooking and making water outside if you can. Not only will the fires last longer this way, but you'll also reduce cabin fever. And there is, of course, still a risk that a sudden blizzard will blow out your fire, though. This is where the aforementioned caves become really handy. Because caves count as being outdoors, regardless of where in the cave you are, you can light a fire on the warm inside section of the cave, allowing you to maintain a fire and cook outdoors. Okay,
this is wrong. This is one of those tips that I remember that I wish I had explained better, because this is not correct. But it's a bit deceptive how this works. So let's see. Do I go back? Yeah. So this was also recorded at a time that I was on a really bad computer, so you get these FPS drops all the time. So there's an error here. So I say that they're the same on both sides of the cave, because one is inside, one is outside. Okay, that's not actually how it works in the game. It is true that fires last longer outside, but it's a bit more complicated. So first off, fires do last longer outside because of cold. So the colder it is, the longer it burns. I don't have the exact numbers in my head, but the gist of it is that if it's very cold, the wood lasts longer and therefore you burn longer. So that's one thing. But the indoor-outdoor thing is not actually like this. So I haven't tested it myself, but two other streamers, I think it was Fishman and... Was it Fishman? And Big Fish. And Acidic Virus, I think it was. I can't remember who it was. They tested this extensively, and they found out that what matters is not whether your fire is outdoors or indoors. What matters is where the player is located. So in this case, if you notice that I have two fires, right? And I say that they are the same because they're both outdoors. But that's not true. This one is in the interior of the cave. This one is in the exterior of the cave. But notice that when I'm checking them, I'm actually standing on the left side, barely, of this line, which means I'm on the interior part of the cave. So I'm actually indoors when I check them. And what matters is the player location. So if I were to light this, even if I light this fire on the interior, but I stand on this side, then the fire will burn longer because the player is outside or at the exterior, right? If you do the reverse, it's the other way around. So this means that if you light a fire, say in Trapper's cabin, but then you go out and you do stuff outside and then go back in, the fire will have burned as if it was on the outside. So I presume that's just a mechanic they've used just to make it easier to track, because I think the game just assumes that if you lit a fire outside, the player is probably outside. So of course we're going to count it as outside. I'm guessing it's something like that. Again, I haven't tested this, but people who I trust have tested it, so I think that's the explanation for it. That being said, though, you should light fires outside when you can, because assuming you are outside with the fire, they will burn longer, but also you reduce cabin fever. So it is better to do it. So if you watch when I play, whenever I'm at a base, I very often cook outside and not inside, because it lasts longer and you reduce cabin fever, especially if you get a craft or something. So it is still good to have a fire outside, but it's the information in this video is a little bit inaccurate. You learn something every day, and sometimes you look back and the tip isn't wrong per se, but it's a bit incomplete, I guess.
The best way to recover health is sleep. Generally speaking, you recover 1% health every hour as long as your meters are full when you are awake and walking about. However, when sleeping, you activate multipliers that increase over time and allows you to recover additional health. How much you recover depends on how long you sleep, what difficulty you're on, and what kind of bed you sleep.
Yes, that's right.
For example, if you sleep in a bed on Interloper, then for the first 2 hours of your sleep, you only recover 1% per hour, so the same as when you're awake. However, if you sleep 8 hours or more, you start gaining 5% health per hour. You can see the full scale here.
So this is correct. And if you, on Interloper, you can only sleep 10 hours. And you heal 32%. And the reason you don't heal more is because the transition between 9 and 10 hours, you actually get dehydrated in that transition, but you are hydrated more than dehydrated in that hour. So it's you heal more sleeping 10 hours than 9, if that makes sense, because of this multiplier. And you heal 32% on Interloper. If you drink a herbal tea, you heal 38% instead. And if you have birch bark tea, if you drink, well, you can drink a bunch of them, but let's say you drank 3 of them, then you would heal an additional like 5% or something. I can't remember exactly, something like that. So that's how it works. And the bed type is correct. You will heal 5% more on a regular bed or a bare bedroll than you would if you were in a normal bedroll or in like a leaf bed or something. They heal 5% less. And then there's a special bed, which is Trapper's Cabin. The bed in Trapper's Cabin heal for 10% rather than 5 extra. So you heal a bit more in Trapper's Cabin than anywhere else in the world. But other than that is correct. So yeah, sleeping 10 hours in Interloper heals you 32%. On Stalk and below, you can sleep 12 hours and you can heal 90%. I mean, it's really high. On Nogoa, if you set it to very high, you can't sleep more than 7 hours or you get dehydrated. So you only get the 4-time bonus for that. Well, you don't recover anyway, but yeah, you know what I mean. But yeah, this is correct, but there's more to it than this.
On the left. Flare gun is perhaps the most powerful weapon in the game. For one thing, every animal in the game runs away from its flare.
Yes.
But you can also use this weapon for hunting. In fact, if you hit a bear in the head with the flare gun, you will one-shot it, as seen in this clip.
Yep. Yeah, flare gun is so strong.
In order to do this, you need to wait for the bear to charge, then crouch, and wait for the bear as close as possible.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, you'll hit it in the head, and it will go down with 1 hit.
So there it said the crouch is because Shardul did that, and he did that. Shardul is a streamer. He's not really active anymore. He does pop up now and then, but he taught me the basics of Interloper a while back, and he always crouched. He had a few things where it's like charge, crouch, get close, shoot him in the face. But you don't have to do that. Sometimes you'll see me do it, sometimes you see me don't do it. He had another thing that he said whenever he exits a building, he would say, crouch, look, and listen. Because you would crouch to reduce aggro range, look to see if there's predators, and listen for predators, and then you move on. So he had some good ones, and this was one of them. But you don't have to do it this way. The way the flare gun works, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but I'm pretty sure it works like kind of like a bow or any other weapon where there's a chance of critical hit. So if you hit the bear on the head, it does, I think actually Blade's TLD science, I think it does 100 damage, I think. Meaning the bear can take 5 hits before it dies. But if you hit it in the head and you get a critical hit, it dies instantly. And there's a pretty high chance of a critical hit. I think it's something like 70% or something. It's quite a high chance of critical hit. So yeah, this is absolutely powerful. But because on Interloper especially there are so few shells, it is better to use the flare gun as a safety. So for example, you shoot the bear with an arrow, and then it's charging you, and if it doesn't die, you take out the distress pistol and shoot it with the distress pistol, because then it will flee. So that's usually the best thing for it. Also notice that this is bugged. It's lichen like hanging in midair. So it's yeah. Anyway.
One little side note about this tip: the moose is the only animal in the game that do not bleed out. So here, I'm afraid you're going to have to bring it down with multiple shots. Unless you get a lucky critical hit.
What? A one-shot kill? It's a Christmas miracle! Holy
That's great. Barbecue chicken is now just called barbecue. and he doesn't really play Long Dark much anymore. He plays like Hitman and stuff, but you can still find him. He in one of my later tip videos, there was a segment of him which got deleted for copyright reasons, which is really funny. But I think I have the original one, and I can show it to you. I always liked including other streamers, so I first asked for their permission, even though I think it's a bit of a grey area. I think you technically could take any Twitch clip you want and use it, because technically Twitch owns it, I think. But I still like to ask people, and I like using my videos as an excuse to promote other streamers if I can, because it's a very nice community. So you saw footage from other streamers there, and yeah, you can. The moose does not bleed out. There is one clip of a moose bleeding out from a long time ago when Bleak Inlet first came out, but that is the only time I've ever seen it. So I think that was just a glitch. But they shouldn't bleed out. Their hide is too thick. Do not go outside.
Finally, I have a general tip for all you survivors. Do not go out at night. Dark walk will be damned. If you plan to survive, always avoid going outside in the dark. There are many reasons for this. First, your visibility is obviously reduced in the dark, and it is so much easier to get lost. Second, the wolves act a bit differently at night.
Yes.
Normally, if a wolf spots you, he will start barking and then
look at the
stalk
FPS
you
drop
like this. In other words, you can hear the wolf approaching you and being near you. However, I have experienced that wolves at night won't make this sound when they approach you from behind, which can lead you to be ambushed by wolves you didn't even know were there.
So I never test this rigorously, but I think this is correct. But I have also experienced since then walking around at night and a wolf bark, and then he follows me. So I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I have had it happen a couple of times, and I've seen it happen to other people too, even when they walk on like open plains and a wolf has obviously detected them and are stalking them, but they make no noise until they're right on you. So as far as I can tell, they do act a bit differently, but I never tested it exactly. I don't think this was covered in Bashrope's video either, because you tend to separate wolves and aurora wolves, but night wolves, I think, is either they are exactly the same and these cases are just like freak accidents that just happened, or there are some minor differences between them. I'm not really sure. It could also be to do with weakness. Actually, let's go back a little bit. So, actually, I am heavy in this clip, which means I'm considered weak by the wolf. So it's possible that the wolf actually had a charging rate that was closer than normal because of that. And also there's a little hill here. So it's possible that this wolf actually was stalking me by a smell. And then he comes over this hilltop, and because I'm weak, which is indicated by being heavy, that's one of the weak statuses. If you are heavy, low condition, have a sprain, are fatigued or bleeding, you're weak, and wolves are more aggressive effectively. And it could be that that's what happened, and that the wolf didn't actually just like silently approach. So this one I will say is tentatively correct, but it could be wrong. It could be that the times it's happened to me and other people, there is some other variable explaining it. In this case, it could be line of sight combined with weakness. Not really sure. Worth looking into. But the tip, though, generally is still true. You shouldn't go out at night unless you're really confident, because it's very dangerous. You can't see much. And aurora animals are just really dangerous. So unless you feel really confident, you should try not to go out at night.
Won't make this sound when they approach you from behind, which can lead you to be ambushed by wolves you didn't even know were there. Going out during the aurora is even worse. Tricks that work on regular wolves will usually not work on aurora wolves, and they are not afraid of fires or flares.
This is actually also not quite correct. I only learned this lately. So aurora wolves are actually afraid of flares. They are. but only if you hold the flare, not if you throw it like I did. If you hold it, it still works, but torches and fire and stuff does not work, but flares do, presumably because flares are like a light source, a bit similar to like actual light, so that's probably why it works. So, but I didn't know that, but you know, it's not something you encounter very often, but thanks to YouTuber Bashrope, who had a video about that, that's actually how it works.
And that's it for this video. There are plenty more tips that I could have included, but these were the top 10 that I could think of. If you like this sort of content, leave a like and subscribe for more of it.
Oh wow. You know, in my videos, I never say those words, you know what words I'm talking about. I never say like and subscribe, because I just figured people got a brain. If they like the content, they'll subscribe or like it. I don't have to tell people to do it. It's just annoying. So I always took pride that I actually never say it. Sometimes I say consider being a Patreon because it helps the channel out, but I never say subscribe or anything because people can make that decision themselves. They don't need to be reminded of it. And I always took pride in that, but I never realized that I actually do say it in this video. So that's a bit of a shame. So I can't say now that I never say it. In my early videos, I apparently did say it. I guess that's quite common when you're starting out, though, because you want to get traffic. So, you know, I like my videos, you know. But now I don't say it, at least. Okay, so that was pretty accurate. There were a couple things that were wrong or incomplete or like not quite how it works. I would give this a 80% accuracy, something like that. I give it 8 out of 10. A couple of things that were some minor things that were wrong, even though it didn't take away from the main point. And then a couple of things that was like, yeah, it works like that, but it's a bit more complicated than that. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Then next up, we have the Interloper guide, which was meant to be 10 tips on how to get better at Interloper, but I rephrased it into the early game because that's pretty much what mastering Interloper is. It's about just surviving the early days. If you survive the early days, then you're done. And then the late game is more about staying alive rather than mastering the game. It's just more like things to finesse. So they end up being 2 parts in a way. But now we're going to look at the early game survival. So let's see how that goes. I haven't watched this one in a long time. I don't actually remember most of the tips. I think they have to do with finding the forge and stuff like that. We'll see.
So, fellow survivor, you have apparently decided that you hate yourself and want to get punished by playing the hardest difficulty in the long dark. Interloper is tough and at times frustrating, but if you survive, you can truly call yourself a badass. And don't worry, Zach and the online streaming community is here to help you out.
Yeah, online streaming community. I like to include as many people as I can whenever it's possible.
The first thing you should know before even trying Interloper is the maps themselves. The Great Bear Island is reportedly larger than Skyrim, so there is a lot of ground to cover. Don't worry though.
And that post was on 2019, so that's 4 years ago. It's supposedly bigger than Skyrim, and since then, so that was 2019. Yeah, Ashcan. Since then, we've had Blackrock and the Far Territory, so it's definitely bigger now. And remember, I had a video called Survival Tips from Expert Survivors, and the number one thing they said was learn the maps. And it's true. A lot of people say that, well, that's no fun because that means that it's more like memory rather than skill. But it's not true, actually. You can perfectly survive on Interloper without knowing the maps. It's more to do with how you manage the map. So I've done blind playthroughs on things like Blackrock or Forsaken Airfield where I don't know the match spawns or anything like that. So you still survive and you have no idea what's expected of you. So it's as long as you know how to survive, like how to, for example, get warm without matches until you find a match. But you need to find matches or flares, but if you don't know where they are, if you just know how to survive until you find them, you'll be fine. But it does help a lot to know the maps. So if you want to master Interloper, yes, you need to know the maps, but you don't need to know them to survive. It's more the mechanics of the game you need to know. Right. So this isn't wrong or anything. It's just that you can do it without it, but it's definitely easier if you know the maps for sure.
You don't need to know every detail about every single map, but you do need to know where to warm up and find good loot. When walking around outside, you should know where the nearest shelter is at all times, so that if you get caught in a blizzard or by a sudden wolf attack, you always know where to go.
Yeah, that's true.
Where the am I? Yeah, I'm gonna die in a goddamn blizzard. I don't even see where I'm... How did I walk for 15 hours and not get to the end of this
I forgot about that clip. So a lot of the clips that I use in my videos, they're all used with permission, of course, but anyway, most of my clips that I've gotten by going to each streamer's clip collection and then picking out like the most viewed ones and seeing what happens and then what's relevant. But of course, sometimes I catch things live and I see it happen live and then I save it. So this was one of them. I was watching the stuff live and this happened and I saved the entire VOD, and there's a snippet from the entire thing. And it's just really funny. He has a blizzard in it and it lasts for quite a few hours, and then he goes somewhere and waits it out, and then when it stops, it immediately starts again. And I think the whole thing is like 12-hour long blizzard or something, and he gets completely lost. I think he dies in the eastern part of Pleasant Valley, not far from Thompson's Crossing. I think he goes all the way from the farm to Thompson's Crossing on the river, but he just doesn't find. I think he walks past the cave actually at some point, but he had no clue where he was, and that's pretty common for Pleasant Valley.
Cattails is the bread and butter at the beginning of an interloper run. You can find them along any river and freshwater lake. Forlorn Muskeg and Ash Canyon especially has a lot of them, with over 300 in each of the regions.
I might be able to tell you exactly how many. So this is the actual amount of cattails. So this is done by Lawrence Sinclair, not by me, who flew around using the flying mod. This is a while ago now, maybe 2 years ago, I think. Yeah, something like that. And Fallen Muskeg has 357 cattails. 357. Ash Canyon has, wow, 200. For some reason it says 400. That's obviously not correct then. I haven't counted it myself, but I have no reason to think that will be wrong. There are cattails all over here, but I'm not sure there's 400. No. Which one has the most? Is it Fallen Muskeg actually? It's been a while since I looked at this. Yeah, Hushed River has a lot of cattails. Yeah. It is Fallen Muskeg that has the most cattails. 357, that's a lot. Desolation Point has no cattails. I think it's the only region with no cattails. That's because it's all salt water. There is fresh water going into the ocean, but it doesn't actually, it doesn't actually have any cattails, because I guess it's a word for that when you get both salt and fresh water. I forgot the word. But yeah, anyway. So
the flare gun is really useful in the early game for two reasons. First of all animals are scared of the gun, so you're a lot safer moving through the world.
Goon.
Remember that Interloper has no rifle or revolver, so the flare gun is your best protection until you make a bow.
I forgot about that.
In addition to scaring off animals, you can also hunt with it. A well-placed shot to the head can bring down a bear. This is especially handy on Interloper because you're going to need those bear hides so that you can craft the bearskin bedroll. On Interloper, you do not spawn with a bedroll when you start the game, so you would need to find one of the ones that spawn in the world. There is only one guaranteed bedroll spawn, and it's in Bleak Inlet in this cave here. But this is quite a dangerous place to visit this early in the game.
No. So there's two things wrong here. Well, this is about the flare gun, so that is correct, but the context is not accurate anymore. But it's not just that. So So yeah, you can use the flare gun to kill a bear early to get the hide, and then you create the bear bedroll. And the bear bedroll is very strong, allows you to sleep outdoors. But because of the Tales from the Far Territory updates, this is now obsolete. In the sense that what you could do instead is once you find the bedroll, you could upgrade it with the ptarmigan and you get the improvised down bedroll. And the improvised down bedroll is really strong. The bear bedroll, I think, is 12 degrees. And the improvised down one, I think, is like 8 or something. And in practice, that makes very little difference. But the improvised one weighs like almost 2 kilos less. So it's really good. You got to find a bedroll, though. The one thing that's inaccurate here says the only guaranteed bedroll is in Bleak Inlet, and that's not true. There are 2 guaranteed bedrolls. The other one is in Hashtra Valley. This one I don't think is guaranteed anymore after they did the loot refresh, because I've been there once myself and it was not there, and I've seen other people spawn and go there and it was not there. So this one's not guaranteed anymore. But in Hashtra Valley it is guaranteed. In Hashtra Valley, if you go to the ice caves, where Sketchy the Wolf can be, so be careful, there will always be a bedroll, there will always be matches, and there'll always be a hacksaw. Those 3 things will be there. If the hacksaw is not there, then you're just unlucky, and I think the hacksaw is in the Lonely Cave instead. But you'll always find the bedroll and matches there. It will vary where in the ice caves it is, but it will be there. So that's why HIV is a fantastic interloper spawn as well. So this is unfortunately a bit outdated. Don't go to Bleak Inlet for the bedroll, please.
You can find a flare gun in 2 locations. One is at the summit in Timberwolf Mountain, and the other is down the rope climb in the ravine. I recommend getting the ravine flare gun early on if you can, and this is another reason why the previously mentioned travel route via ravine is useful.
No.
You need a rope. I recommend getting the...
So this also is outdated. This has changed and is no longer accurate. So the flare gun used to be in only 2 places on Interloper. You could find it randomly in low difficulty somewhere else. But on Interloper, it was only these 2. And for that reason, the route to go via ravine to Desolation Point was actually not that bad, because you could go into the ravine, get the flare gun, maybe get the hammer, and you also got a stim there, so you could always stim back up if you were tired. And this is the Shardul route. Shardul used to do this. This is a streamer from back in the day. He's not that active anymore, but sometimes he's around. And then you could go to Desolation Point, and the only real choke point you come into is the Crumbling Highway, where there's a wolf or 2, and you use the flare gun to get past them if necessary, and then you can forge. So it's a good route. But now that's not there anymore. That's not how it works. Now the Distress Pistol has multiple spawns around the world, and they usually spawn either with just the pistol, just the flare shells, or both. And you have to keep looking for it. So in the past you had I think you had 12 flare shells on Interloper. You got 8 on the summit and 4 in the ravine. But now that's not the case. It's a bit more random. And also you can find flare shells around. For example, you can find flare shells by the crashed plane in Mystery Lake that's new, and that sort of thing. So they are around now, and it varies. And the spawns are, I only know some of them, but I asked another streamer called Blades TLD, who you should also check them all out, and he knew most of them. So now you can find the flare gun at the summit. You can find it in the barn in Pleasant Valley. You can find it in Hibernia Processing behind some crates if you want to see that. Check out my Stalker video, you can see me do that. You can also find it in I have seen it in Ash Canyon. He didn't mention that one, but in Ash Canyon there is behind Angler's Den, there's that area with like a picnic table, and that's not, or like broken boxes or whatever. You have to go from Climber's Cave to get there. There's sometimes a case up there. And there's also one in Forsaken Airfield by the downed helicopter. And there can be one in Bleak Inlet, I think, in the cannery. So those are the places I think. It might be other ones. So it's a bit different. You can't really plan around it anymore. The flare gun is, unless you go to Summit, the flare gun is a bit more like, you find it when you find it now. So you shouldn't rely on it as much.
There are invisible death walls around the ravine, so do not try to get down there without a rope. You will instantly die.
What the just happened?
So that happens. So yeah, there's a few death barriers in the game that instantly kill you. Most of them are barriers you're not going to run into by just playing normally. This one is the most common one. You should not try and go down because it will just kill you. It is, however, possible. I have a route that I use, and then if you want to see another route, you can look up Archimedes LP. He has a guide on how to do it. I also have one. You can see it in when I do Dark Walker and when I do Endless Night, and I'm sure other times. It's quite easy to do. You can actually go down to the ravine. You just got to go kind of out of bounds, but it's quite safe to do. But it's obviously an exploit. But you can do it. It's just a very specific spot you have to do it, and if you don't do it on that spot, you'll die.
That'll do.
Just a note, it is possible to survive an interlope without the bow. I did a run where I had to survive 50 days with no bow and no flare gun. And Kimiota and others have done runs where they only survived on birch tea. So it's not that you can't survive without the bow, it's just that creating the bow makes things a lot easier.
Nice shot.
That was some quick thinking.
It was some quick thinking. But yeah, it's true, you don't need the bow. But it makes things so much easier. I have also done birch bark only. I only went to 2 parts before the DLC came out, but I survived. I can't remember how many days, 15 days or something. It's a bit boring and a bit taxing to go around looking for birch all the time, but you can survive an interlock with only birch bark, and from there everything else becomes valid. If you can survive an interlock with only birch bark, then you can survive with only vegan food or only found food or whatever, because it just expands from there. So you don't need it. And the run I did where I did 50 days without the bow was on stream, so that was never released. But if people are interested, I could maybe do it again. But most likely, if you want to see that, I will do a challenge that's called the Thief Challenge, or a variant of the Thief Challenge, which is that you can't use weapons and you can only eat food or meat rather that has been killed by predators. That's kind of fun. So you got to get the wolves to kill things for you. That's the idea. So that can be done. And
you can also level faster by using a cheesy tactic called shredding. This is done by starting a meat harvest and then cancelling, resulting in many small meat bits instead of one large chunk. Cooking is leveled by each item cooked, so doing this will allow you to level the skill faster. However, a lot of players consider this a cheesy mechanic and a bit of an exploit, but whether you use it is completely up to you.
Wow.
I think it's totally fine to use it. I think it's a great mechanic to use if you want to. If you choose not to use it, you don't have to use it. It's like anything else in the game. It's like my loot tables. It's like online maps. It's like cheesing the fire starting to get it leveled up really quick. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to use it. If you want to use it, it can come in very handy, and you can get a lot of skill ups very quickly by doing it.
So that was Athenan, and you should check him out. He's fantastic. He's a great streamer, and he makes a lot of good points there. Like, if you consider the shredding mechanic an exploit, then there's a whole bunch of things you can't use then, right? Because cheese fire starting is things like lighting a bunch of fires in a circle and you level that up. So, okay, well, that's kind of cheesing. What about goating, you know? So the Long Dark is one of those games where you have to decide yourself what you want to do with it, because there's a lot of things you can do that maybe it's intended, maybe it's not intended, but there are ways of playing the game, and there aren't really any wrong ways to play the game. So some people think this is cheating, something is not cheating, and there isn't really a right or wrong answer. You just got to go for yourself. I don't use it, the shredding tactic, but there's nothing wrong with doing it. The main reason I don't use it is just because I thought, well, it's I felt it was kind of like an exploit. However, there's been, after this video came out, there's been some comments that made a lot of sense, saying that actually, if this was real life, I probably would cut a bunch of small pieces and cook those to try and learn how to cook the meat, right? You try it out and experiment with little small pieces, and then you would learn cooking by doing it, and then you grab a big piece and cook it. So in that sense, it makes kind of realistic, I suppose. So yeah, it's not an exploit really, it's just an approach to it. And in the description it said, see description for alternative methods, because what I do is that if I do this, I do it sometimes in certain circumstances, you know. I start harvesting and I cancel it to get small pieces. But what you can do is, say you have 10.1 kilos of meat, you can click to harvest all of it, 10.1, and then what you do, if you then go back to almost 0, it keeps the 0.1. So you can click, and then instead of 10.1, it'll be 9.6, and then 9.1, 8.6, and so on. You can go all the way down to 0.1, harvest, and then it will, for the next cycle, it will keep the 0.1. You can just harvest 0.1 again and again and again. So there's different ways of doing it.
And that's it for this video. I hope these tips will help you survive on Interloper. But if you were to die, don't worry about it. The Long Dark is all about learning from your deaths. So if you died, just try to understand why you died and then do better next time.
Yes. Like in this case.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh my god, I ran on the wires!
Actually, about this one, see that? That when he stepped on the wire, it froze. There was a period in the Long Dark. This must have been 2021 somewhere. After Ash Canyon, I guess. I don't remember exactly what it was, or was it Dark Walker? For some reason, there was a period for maybe half a year, I can't remember how long it was exactly, where whenever the game saved, it would just freeze. Of course, the slower your computer, the longer it would freeze. And it was quite frustrating because the game just sort of stopped. And they fixed it eventually. There's a clip of Rand where he does it also, where he says, like, come on, give me control! You know, because the game is frozen, because it's saving. I'm not sure why it happened, but they fixed it, so it doesn't happen anymore.
Stay safe out there, survivors. Buffet.
Alright, I didn't say those words this time, so I stopped doing it already. So that's good. That was quite a good video. Quite a good sort of like Interloper starting guide. Unfortunately, some of it's incorrect because of the loot change. So there's a few tips on like the distress pistol and bedroll and some other things that are no longer accurate, unfortunately. The bedroll one was already inaccurate because I'm pretty sure before the loot refresh you still had the bedroll on HRV. So that was inaccurate too. The flare gun, you know, that sort of thing. There are a couple of other things that weren't wrong, but they were kind of like incomplete or could provide better context. But if you ignored those, you could still use this as a decent guide, because the key premise is still the same. You got to find the hammer, you got to go to a forge, you got to find a hacksaw preferably, you got to make the bow, you got to level cooking, you got to keep moving. And I'm surprised how many tips here were actually similar to the expert survival video I made later from all the streamers, which is kind of the same. They all said, like, learn the maps, learn from your mistakes, keep moving, basically don't panic, and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's still a good video, but it's a little bit outdated, more so than the previous one. I would say this is like a 7 out of 10, 70% or something like that. So it's alright. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, then we have the next video, which is the late game. And it's technically Interloper late game, but it doesn't have to be, if I remember correctly, because it's pretty much just what to do once you've settled. And this was a guide for that. I later made an Interloper walkthrough about that. So I made a video in 2022 called Interloper Made Easy. And then before the Great Reset, I made the follow-up, which was the mid-game and late game of being an Interloper player. So I took a lot of these things in practice if you want to watch those, although they are obsolete, but still probably relevant for survival purposes. In any case, this is the late game one. Before we watch this one thing I have to say about it is that the version we're going to watch is the version that I have stored on my hard drive, which is different from the one that's on YouTube. There's a scene in this version that I always remember that is cut from YouTube for copyright reasons. Maybe if I talk a little bit while it happens and stuff, maybe we'll get lucky and it won't get copyrighted this time. I think we should watch it because it's good fun. It made me laugh. Yeah, you'll know it when you get to it because this is a scene that's not on YouTube. Let's hop into it, shall we?
I should also note that in some regions, such as Ash Canyon or Tin Wolf Mountain, I also recommend storing extra bandages and extra rosehip tea.
Yes.
This is because of the moose.
Prepare yourselves!
Should you get stomped,
This clip from Helgadar, which is now called Helga Bean, you should check her out. This was made for this video. I couldn't find one that had a clean kind of moose stomp thing, and I just happened to see Helga online, and I asked her, you don't happen to have a clip of it, do you? And she's like, well, I can make one. And I think this was her run, and she was in Coastal Highway, and she spent like an hour getting to Tin Wolf Mountain and then getting stomped. And she did it, but the first time it happened, she accidentally killed the moose. And then the second time she got it, and she sent it to me. So thanks, Helga. Just for nice to have context, you know.
your climbing days are over, and if you are in Ash Canyon or Tin Wolf Mountain, this can seriously disrupt your traveling plans. So having those medicines ready means you can recover more easily.
Exactly. I still
Now
do
you
that.
know how it is to get stumped by a moose.
Yeah.
Securing a large and reliant food supply for your base is
Yes.
key to long-term survival. You want to go out there and hunt whatever animal you find, with bears and moose providing the most meat.
Woo!
Your
Stacia.
main base
Stacia, thanks Stacia, you should check out. She's an underrated player. She's played Lange for a long time, and she is a really good shot. But people forget. But if you watch her, she might not admit it herself, but she can really hunt. She's very, very good.
There are plenty of birch saplings around, even on Interloper, but they are finite and will eventually run out, although it is possible to sometimes get them through beachcombing. With a few exceptions, the arrows are always retrievable. You can even loot arrows from fleeing animals.
Oh no!
Shall do that. That laugh is so legendary.
Oh, thank you, God!
Oh my god.
Oh, my arrows! No, they're inside the...
I actually clipped that one. That's a clip I did of him. Shaldul was like my mentor. He is the one who taught me the basics of Interloper. This is in 2018, somewhere around there. But then he's very inactive, so I then started learning it for myself and through other people like Kimiota. But he taught me the basics, and I appreciate that. And he had this laugh. It's such a good laugh. Oh, it's great. And I think he could actually retrieve the arrows there by clicking on the bear, but yeah. And maple saplings do wash up on beachcombing, and they do it more now. Ever since they overhauled beachcombing, you get more saplings now on beachcombing. So they are finite still, your arrows, but you probably won't run out. If you get to that stage in the game, if you survive for that long that your saplings are running out, you probably have enough resources to just camp out in Coastal Highway for like 20 days and just check the coast whenever there's a blizzard, which is going to be every couple of days. And you will find saplings there, and then you'll find scrap metal. So in theory, arrows and bows are finite. In practice, you're probably never going to run out of them.
Of course, sometimes, regardless of difficulty, things are just out of your control and the game will just try to kill you.
Well. Oh god!
Like, where did this wolf come from? You know, this is Mikey. He's one of my mods.
I mean that you will die. The game will kill you. It's offended by the attempt.
It's offended by the attempt. I love that.
Generally speaking, you should not be afraid to use the meds you find around the world, such as painkillers and antibiotics. This is because these items will eventually expire, and when they reach 0% condition, you can no longer use them.
No, that's not true. Someone corrected this after I posted this. So it is true if you do this, go in inventory and click use, you won't use them. But if you put them in the radial menu and then use them, they will work. So they just don't work in the inventory, but they work in the radial menu. So they're still useful. So this tip is not accurate.
Before we continue on to the next tip, why don't we have a quick break to talk about today's sponsor, Mountaineer's Hut Cafe.
Here at the Mountaineer's Hut Cafe, we have all the finest beverages. Baked Beans coffee, birch bark tea,
oh god,
herbal tea. Maybe you're more of a reishi mushroom tea. We've got it all here at the Mountaineer's Hut Cafe. Come on by.
Come on by.
We also offer reading materials.
We also offer reading
Brush up on your
materials.
outdoor cooking skills.
Brush up on the outdoor cooking
Handle all
skills.
the ruined raw moose meat you can dream of.
No refunds. I forgot that was in there. Oh god. I don't know why I think that's so funny. I hadn't seen that since this video was made. Because when I made the video, I uploaded it, and I had just recently got monetized. I got monetized in like mid 2021 or something. And after just being out for like, I think less than a day, it got demonetized because the background music is from his clip and it got copyrighted. So I had to remove it from the video, and you did it in YouTube. So that's not on YouTube anymore, unfortunately. I have no idea if it will be copyright struck now, so I hope you get to see it. That's really, really funny. That was barbecue. All right.
The afternoon is the warmest time of day, provided that it isn't windy, and having a double bear coat will allow you to avoid taking cold damage while traveling through most of the regions. However, if you compare stamina, then the wolf coat combo allows for more sprinting than bear coats.
Yes.
It also weighs less, meaning you can carry more stuff.
More stuff to carry.
Some players also wear one wolf coat and one moose cloak, mostly because the moose cloak provides the most animal protection.
That's right.
And the wolf coat has a chance to scare off wolves, although how often this happens has not been fully investigated.
We now know that it's 20%. Yeah. The same as the bear coat. If you wear it, it's 20%. We don't know what the base rate is though, but based on my experience and what Bashrope did, you have roughly a 5% chance that a wolf just runs. So if a wolf attacks you, roughly 5% chance that the wolf just like, oh, and it flees. If you wear the bear coat or wolf coat, it increases by 20%. So now it's basically 1 in 4 that they run away, more or less.
Finally,
you never run out of things to do in this game. That's what the point is. Speaking of which,
if you are invested in the long run of Interloper, going perhaps for 500 days or longer, many people wonder, what should I do with my time?
Because Stickman is very stylish. He likes to lounge on a bearskin rug while he smokes his cigar in the cave. There we go. We took a picture of him with his bearskin rug. There we go.
He's done that several times. where he's made like a family or something. And I think it's such a like a Wilson Castaway thing to do. It's like, oh, I'm lonely. I'm gonna make a whole family out of sticks. Doopy-doo. It's just really funny. I mean, a lot of people have done that though. Some people have made really creative stuff with items in the game. If you want to see some really creative things, check out the video I have called Creative Bases, which was a tournament where people made fun bases. And that was cool. My Phelan cracks me up. Phelan is a fantastic streamer. You absolutely need to check him out if you haven't already. Very easygoing, very friendly, and also a very good player. He's been around since the beginning. There's a few streamers that's been around since the beginning or near the beginning, and people like Phelan, Imiota, and a few others, while a lot of us others, including myself, we kind of started playing when the game came out. It was out of early access is when we started playing. But some of these people have been around much longer than that. Phelan is, as far as I know, going on a tangent here, as far as I know, Phelan is the only player who's ever received an early access code for Long Dark, where he could play something before anyone else could. That happened when Darkwalker came out as a Halloween special. Then Phelan was able to play it before it came out. I think he did it about 6 hours before. So obviously Hinton gave that to him. That is the only instance I've ever heard of that happening, which is very cool. So good job, Phelan.
Therefore, I recommend setting goals for yourself to keep yourself busy. You'll be surprised how long it will take to do some of these goals.
These were some of my goals in my old run, and in my current run I also have a bunch of goals, and they're very similar, and there's some more goals to be added that the community suggested. So some of the, you can set so many goals. I mean, this tape I'll give some examples, but there are so many things you can do in this game. And a lot of people, sometimes I get comments in my videos saying like, well, I survived 30 days and now I'm bored, or I survived 200 days now, I looted everything, not sure what to do now. Well, if you're one of those people, then it seems like the way that you play the game is really to kind of complete it or do everything in it within the actual game frame, meaning that you see it as sort of like once you crafted everything and you looted everything and you've done every action, like hunted everything, then you've done everything. So what's the point now? Like that's like the end goal. But that's not how the game works. The game doesn't have any goals. So that means that you just do whatever you want to do. And a lot of people, including myself, use the Long Dark as basically a chill out zone. It's an immersion mechanic where we just go into the Great Bear and we just like living there. It's almost like, what was that horrible game, Second Life or whatever? Never played it, looks awful. But it's a way to immerse yourself into something. And because of that, you don't have to have any goals. You can just play. But the more you play and the more into it you are, you realize that you'll never have time to do everything, because you can always think of something to do. Like, okay, sure, you can do, like here, go to the summit, faithful cartographer, make the bedroll, and that sort of thing. But then you realize there's other stuff. Well, you want to kill the special wolves. Fine. Oh, they didn't spawn. I'll come back later. You want to kill 500 wolves. That's going to take a while. You're going to check all the crates in the dam. Yeah, that sounds easy, but that's going to take a while to do. And you need food and stuff to do that, because it's going to take a while. And of course, there are crates and boxes everywhere else. You want to open those, sure. Maybe you want to try some things out. You want to hunt some more bears, kill 20 bears just to try and figure out the best way to deal with them. You know, maybe you want to learn a region that you don't really know. There's all sorts of things to do. And now they've added things like Signal Void and stuff. There's even more stuff. So even if you do absolutely everything, you know, in the game, loot everything, craft everything, have bases everywhere, you know, you still got to maintain those bases. So you still have to hunt sometimes. Maybe you want to go fishing. Maybe you want to re-explore stuff. You know, just go for a walk even. Try out a different hunting mechanic. Maybe explore a bit with how wolves work. You know, it's experiment. So you'll never run out of things to do. So I started over 1,000 days in my main run, and I only did about 70% of the things I wanted to do, or something like that. It's yeah. I don't think I can ever get bored in this game, because if you are bored, then you probably have a different mindset in the game. Not the wrong mindset. People play the game for various different reasons, and there's no right or wrong way to play this game or why you play this game. You play it for whatever reason you want. But for me and a lot of other people, you play it because you like being in the world. And as long as you like being in the world, then you will never be bored in it either, right? So you just got to decide why you play this game and what you want to do with it. And then you figure it out from there. And if you are just one of those people who get bored after a few days, prefer starting a new run, then just do that. That's fine.
And let's be honest, if you made it to day 500 on Interloper, then you really don't need my help anyway.
No.
You are already a hardened survivor. And hey, if you were to die in the late game, it doesn't really matter. It's an excuse to start a brand new adventure.
Absolutely.
And that's what the Long Dark is all about. Creating your own adventures. See you next time, survivors.
That's exactly right, though. So I have certain rules that always apply. I haven't gotten around to making a video about it yet, but I'll just tell them to you. One of the rules is to always have a contingency plan. So when you play, whenever you get yourself into a situation, whatever that situation is, you got to plan ahead and think, if something happens, can I survive it? The answer is no, you haven't prepared for it. The answer is yes, then you're ready for it. Rule number 2 is that animals, particularly wolves, are machines. So they all follow rules, and you can discover what those rules are, and then you can manage them very easily. Doesn't matter how dangerous they are. They can be predictable if you just know how they work. And rule number 1 is that if you are still alive, then you're not playing the game wrong. Because if you're still alive, then you did something right, didn't you? So you're still alive. So what can I say? I can't say you did something wrong because you're not dead. Sure, you are still alive the moment before you died. You will make mistakes. But if you are on day 20 in Interloper and you feel like you could be better, you got to day 20, didn't you? So you're doing something right. And maybe you die, and the next time you make it to day 25, and so on. You know, so if you are still alive, you are not doing it wrong. You might be doing it differently than other people. You might not be optimized in how you're playing. There might be room for improvement. But you're not playing the game wrong because you survived. And for that reason, you should take pride in that. And you don't need any of these tips. You don't need me. You don't need anyone. You just play it. Play it how you want to do it. And if you die, new adventure time. Very often the most fun is a new run. That's what's fun. So, excuse to start a new adventure.
I love this game. This game makes me happy. I can come back to this game at any given moment and have a good time playing it.
Yes, me too. Alright, so that was a pretty good video. There were some inaccuracies in terms of where loot is and stuff. But generally this was a pretty good video because it's mostly about how to stay alive and variables that affect how you keep doing things in the late game. So overall I'd say this was a pretty good one. Maybe this is a 9 or something. Probably the most accurate of the 3 videos we've seen, I would say. Because it's more about how just staying alive and maintaining things. But there were some details there weren't that many things wrong with it. It's just that there were some things we know more about now. But yeah, that was fun. A lot of community stuff in this one. I like that. a lot of clips from the community. I like to include community stuff as much as I can. These days I primarily make gameplay videos, so they are not featured as often, but when I made tutorials and tips and stuff, they were there all the time. And you got to check them out, everyone you've seen in these videos. But not just that, just go on Twitch. There's a whole community, everyone knows each other, or at least of each other. So if you go and you see who's online, very likely one of those people in that sort of invisible circle is there. Usually anyone who has 5 viewers or more or something, and they will point you in the right direction. You'll start very quickly to realize who's regularly on and who's raiding who and who knows who. And there's this whole community and everyone supports each other. Okay, so that was those videos. I actually had 5 videos, because you also have the tricks you didn't know and the hidden loot, but this actually took much longer to do than I thought. I was kind of picturing I would say the old thing and this and that, but actually it took quite a long time to do, and there was a lot to say. This is something that would be fun to do on stream as well. We could stop and talk while people who are featured in these videos are present. So there was a lot more to say. But I only did the main 3 ones. The other ones, which is hidden loot and things you didn't know, were made much later. They were made almost a year later after these first 3. These 3 videos are really what got the channel started. So I started making edited tutorials because I felt I was kind of absent on YouTube. You did have tutorials, but they were not particularly, I'm not going to say not well edited, but their style was more like just chatting type of style, a bit like what I'm doing now, I suppose. There weren't any kind of well edited guides. Before I made these, I had a phase where I played a lot of World of Warcraft, and World of Warcraft had tons of like really good guides, and I thought, well, this game needs that, so I started making these. And these were the things that made the channel popular, and what got me to at least the first 2,000-3,000 subscribers. And then I transitioned to making more gameplay videos. The main reason actually why this channel grew into a larger channel is not because of these videos. These videos, all of them, have a lot of views, but what happened was I made these videos, and at the time I had maybe 2,000 subscribers or something, I'm not sure exactly, and I got some comments in some of the videos saying things like, these tips are all fine, but I would like to see them in practice rather than just quick tips. People started saying things like that. I would like to see an actual run where you implement all of these tips rather than just going through them. And then I thought, yeah, that's I could do that, but I thought no one's gonna really be interested in watching me play, especially without a camera on. It's not that interesting. But I thought to myself, I'll do one video where I do everything from an interloper spawn until you have the bow and hunting and begin crafting. And that video became the video that's called Start to Bow, the first interloper walkthrough that I did. And I did that, I think, in like 7 or 9 sessions with an old laptop, and I glued it together with a program called Bandicoot. There's no editing in it whatsoever, I don't think. It's just me starting, playing, and talking. And I hop right into it, and I explain everything I'm doing along the way, narrate everything, explain everything. And then I thought, yep, that's it, that's done. Now I have that video, I have that walkthrough, I implement everything I know in that video, and now I can say, hey, you have these tip videos, but if you want to see it in practice, check out this video. That's where I do everything, and it's done. And then I'll make the odd video here and there. And then that video just took off. People said like, oh, I really like this style. You narrate really well and you explain everything. I would like to see more videos like this. And I thought, well, sure, they're generally speaking not that hard to make. I just got to dedicate the time to actually play and then talk. And it's not that hard to do. So that's how that happened. And then I slowly transitioned into gameplay. Let's call them gameplay narration walkthroughs. And I only occasionally edit things like this. But it was fun to start out like this. I haven't made these kind of videos in a while, but every now and then I am making an edited video. If I have a lot of gameplay videos, like a lot of episodes of a main series or a challenge or something, every now and then I feel like it's been a while since I made like a proper edited video of some highlights or a mechanic or something, and then I pick something. I might be motivated by something like, oh, that's interesting, that's come out. And then I like making it. The closest or more consistent thing I've done lately is the campfire chats, because they are also narrated, but then I play them and I do a little bit of editing here and there. So that's probably the closest, but there are some exceptions. Anyway, that was me going over these tip videos. If you like it, let me know. Thank you all for watching, and thank you for 30,000 subscribers. That's amazing. I can't believe we've gotten this far. And if you liked this and would like to see more of it, you can let me know. And I suppose I could react to the other 2 videos I have, which is the trips you didn't know and the hidden loot, or to some other videos that may be obsolete, or it can be videos of other people if you'd like me to go over anything like that. I don't have any plans to do those things, but if you would like me to do it, you can let me know and I'll consider it. Okay, with that being said, see you next time, survivors. Thank you so much for everything. Bye bye.
What should I do to get the moose taken care of? Papa Stick Man, what do you say?
Well, now, Athedon, I'd say if you want the moose to be taken care of, you need to tweet it to Raph. You need to say, Raph, the moose needs to spawn a little bit quicker, don't you know?
Well, Athedon, if you just stay patient, it will be just time, and the moose will spawn in his own time. Don't worry about it. Just have a nice cup of tea and you'll be fine.
I don't care about no stinking moose. Nobody's here to see the moose anyway. They're here to see the Stick family. Really?
I didn't realize that was in this video. That's pretty good. Oh dear.